Hey everyone, it's Swank Ivy again with another Letters to an Asexual. Except this time, I'm doing something a little different. Today, we're going to try something new called Letters from an Asexual. No, this is not going to become a regular thing, but the idea this time is I'm going to revisit some old letters, many of which have already been featured on this channel in the past, and I'm going to reread some of the excerpts from some of these letters, the most relevant parts, and then I'm going to write them letters. Most of them are people who were very wrong about something, but very, very sure about how right they were. They delighted in the idea that they were rubbing something inevitable in my face about my supposed future, where most of them thought my, as described at the time, non-sexuality or asexuality or lack of interest in romance or lack of interest in having children, etc. All of these things were a temporary phase in their minds, and they were absolutely positive that one day I was going to change. So I'm featuring some letters where people were wrong, and after some time has passed now, I'm going to go back to some of these people, bring them back up, and tell them what I think. Now, many of these are actually super, super old. Have to give them time to ripen. But I thought this would be a fun little exercise. I'm going to start with the person who wins the award for wrongest and most hilariously overconfident, probably. So I guess it's time to tell him how many people know how wrong he was. If you watched my channel for a long time, you will remember this person. He was quite memorable. He went by the name of Victor. He messaged me in November 2013, and his message was a result of some article about me being featured in one of those copycat articles that spread all over the globe, and this guy was in Africa, and they ran this article somewhere in his country, and he crawled out of the woodwork to message me about whether I would like to marry him. So here are just some selected things that he said to me, which I will then counter. Would you like to be normal like everyone else, or do you simply enjoy being asexual because it brings you some publicity? Even though I've never really been a womanizer, no woman has ever seen me and didn't feel something, and that's from experience. I'm 6'2" and very handsome. I will leave you with a statement and hope that you will reach out to me when it happens, because it will. You will begin dating soon. I hope you will remember me when the time comes. You may have heard all kinds of things from people in the past which didn't eventually play out. But I assure you, this time it's different. I am the chosen one. What I say does eventually come to pass. You will begin to date soon, and that is final. And you do not have to believe it. You may also want to apologize to me for poor handling in due time, because you'll eventually realize I did mean no harm. Warding off every concerned individual, intruders to you, may very often grant you some feeling of importance and much relevance, which is so okay with me, but it usually ends shortly after you begin to think about your entire life, because you know you have a problem, and will very often cry yourself to sleep on countless number of days and especially nights. Even though you never tell people about that part of your seemingly joyful and independent existence. I am one of the few people in this galaxy who can totally reverse what you are going through, and by that I mean every word. The best part is that you do not need to pay a dime to anyone or attend even one lecture. That is what I offer you. You have character, and I like that, but those words I have spoken to you about how you will soon begin to date, etc., are not mere words. They are spirit, and they are life. I will wait for my laughable prediction to come to pass, because it soon will. Don't write me after if you don't feel like it. Bye for now. Dear Victor, and I will clarify, I obviously did respond to these people at the time that I received these, but these are my letters from now. Dear Victor, now nearly 10 years later, I have not begun dating, and I do not feel differently about sex, dating, men, or most importantly, you. I think we can agree that if in fact my future does still eventually include dating, soon was definitely the wrong word. All the nonsense about how I will begin dating soon and you are different from everyone else because you're the chosen one and that's final has really made you look very foolish. It's extremely funny that you believed you were enlightening a poor, lonely woman with your wisdom, when actually you were dumping your own very silly projections and desperate fantasies all over her with a level of obliviousness and egotism usually assigned to poorly written comic book villains. No one, least of all me, is crying at night, hiding their emptiness and desperation because they secretly crave your attention and can't admit it. You were the one who wanted something from me. And when I wasn't the least bit interested and told you so, you somehow thought yelling "yes, huh?" and claiming to be a prophet would give you the upper hand, but it really, really didn't. And now I'm afraid it'd be clear to literally everyone who read our exchange that you were wrong and a clown. I'm not going to pretend to know what you are doing now, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if you were still finding random women in a different country to pester for marriage, while insisting to her that every woman you've ever encountered was blown away by how great you are. But one thing's for sure, I don't think about you, unless I'm recounting particularly hilarious examples of how delusional men badger uninterested women. Nor do I consider finding you to confess my changed feelings. I most certainly do not apologize to you for anything I said since I was 100% right. And currently sit vindicated, and I sure as hell hope no other woman has been unfortunate enough to buy your ego and your lies. Fuck you kindly, Ivy. Now let's rewind to May 2000. I was approached by a fella named Thunder Rage 2000. These are his messages. What I think is, you are just picky. You honestly don't want to experience the best emotion in your life. That's something I'd like to make a bet on. I bet in a year or two you will be married with kids. Dear Thunder Rage 2000. At the time we had this conversation, in the year 2000, a year or two would have been 2001 or 2002. I did not get married or have kids in 2001 or 2002. In fact, I also did not do so in 2003 or 2004 or 2005 or 2006 or 2007 or 2008 or any of the years from 2009 to 2019. And that didn't happen in 2020 or 2021, and so far not in 2022 either. It seems that you have lost your bet. You didn't even get half of your prediction right. No marriage, no kids, and still identifying the same way as I did in 2000. I'm interested to know where I can collect my bet money, sir. I think it might have some interests on it by now. Your friend from AOL Instant Messenger, the still single, still unmarried Swank Ivy. Let's go forward a few years, shall we? August 2007. A fella named Eric had this to say. I doubt you will make far without a man. That's why you're at home trying to occupy yourself by making these pointless web pages. Women need a man for guidance. They're blind without one. I hope you have a long, lonely life because you really need to get laid. I understand most women because I've slept with tons of them. I know how to get in their pants and know how to fend them off. Sex is everything, and it feels good. I love sex, and will continue to have sex for as long as I live. You are so uptight. Seriously, get laid, woman. Now look, delete all your web pages, toss the computer, and get laid. Get out of your house, seriously, because you are beautiful as hell, but you are too bitchy. You have my number. I'll tell you what to do. Come to my house. Now, Look, I have to go to work. You think about what I said. Everyone has a desire for sex. Asexuality is total bullshit. Shut the fuck up. You are so full of it. You are lying. Everyone desires sex. I'm sure you finger yourself, so you don't desire it, but in the process of masturbating, you are desiring for sex. So don't come at me with this shit. Now, I'm really done with you. Goodbye. I'm going to work. Maybe after I might find an asexual that I can have sex with. LOL. You are so full of it. Those websites are bullshit, and so are you, hun. Bye-bye. Okay. Dear Eric, just so you know, I'm still making bullshit web pages. Still lying to everyone on the internet about not wanting sex, and now that it's more than 15 years since this conversation, you can probably imagine that going so long being so uptight with no man to dick me down and give me direction has left me an empty shell of a woman. Since we talked, I've been in a documentary on the subject, given half a dozen talks at educational institutions, gotten thousands of subscribers and followers on my various social media, written a book that's still in print many years after the initial publication, and has been translated into multiple languages, been multiply published on the topic, and have emerged as an internationally recognized community leader for asexuality activism. Given all this, it's obvious that you were right and I was wrong about a fundamental aspect of my life, being bullshit, and how miserable I am without getting laid. I've still never once desired another person in my bed, and somehow I'm still suffering from the illusion that my life has meaning, and I can find success. I wish I could still find your number and come to your house so you could show me what actual satisfaction is all about. I have total faith that someone who talks to women like you do would have utterly shattered my worldview and taught me what really matters in life. Longing for you, Swank Ivy. That's the only one I did in sarcasm. Now we're going to go all the way back to January 1999. My dear friend Erin. Erin has this to say. I think you're suppressing your feelings. It's a textbook case. Okay, so now you have matured into a woman. You're very attractive, but you're holding on to some of the aspects of your youth. Please, when you see a guy that is attractive to you, you have to feel something. I think you're holding back some feelings. To declare you're a non-sexual being is such a strong statement. Do you ever consider the fact that you're just making excuses for not having sex? Because our desires are what inspires our creativity. You seem very creative, so I'm sure you have some lust. Perhaps someone will make that happen. Someone you'll think of non-stop. I'm sorry I'm so passionate about this. I just am a very sexual person. I have to be honest, I do think it is bad for you. We are not asexual creatures. You need someone so bad, I can sense it. You want someone to think about you, tell you you have nice eyes, which you do. Love you. This whole I'm asexual thing is just a front, a defense mechanism. I just think that you may be fooling yourself. You can't say that you wouldn't want a guy to just be so into you, to be in love. I think that maybe you were an odd person in post-secondary schooling, maybe alienated with respect to dating and whatnot, and this whole theory of yours that you are not sexual in any way is just a way to damp the fact that you weren't part of it all. But now that you're older and a very pretty girl, you haven't shed this insane assumption that you aren't sexual. Open yourself to love. There is a lot of pain involved, but the joy of it all outweighs the pain. Since you haven't experienced it, you have no frame of reference. Talk to me about all of this after you have. You will understand the difference then. Tell me when it happens. It will. It's true, hun. Dear Erin, so now that I'm 44 and not 19, I can look back on this conversation and determine that you had not the foggiest goddamn clue what you were talking about. Surprise! My whole being asexual thing was not a front or a defense mechanism that ended up falling away when I finally found love. You weren't sensing my need for a person then, and I don't feel that way now. I don't have any regrets about this. have not spent my time feeling lonely, and still very much treasure the friend love that you kept telling me was bullshit. It's really ignorant and awful for you to assume I was scarred from not being very cool in school and was pushing people away because I wasn't ready to accept that I turned from a weird short nerd into a beautiful woman in adulthood. Wow, imagine that. I was right about myself all along, and you wasted several hours of my life bludgeoning me with your offensive, petty ignorance. I did not then, and do not now, want a guy to just be so into me. I did not then and do not now fantasize about and moon about my wish to fall in love, and the only textbook case I fit is the way asexuality is now defined in established psychological reference materials and multiple mainstream sex education textbooks for classes you would have benefited from. Instead of listening to dipshits like you, I continued to listen to myself, which led to a successful career of developing education on the topic and helping other asexual people not end up feeling as broken as you tried to badger me into thinking I was. You were very, very wrong then. And you probably grew up to be a materialistic, violent, possessive jerk, given the other conversations we had about your failures in relationships, your awful overreactions when women responded poorly to your obsessiveness, and your beliefs that getting hotter women depended on you getting a more expensive car. I don't know why I gave you the time of day, except that I was so much more patient when I was 19. You didn't deserve it. I hope for your sake, and for the sake of the poor women who have probably had to be in your life since these conversations, that you grew the hell up and learned not to snidely tell people that they have to feel what you do to be legitimate. Eat a dick, Ivy. Now we're going forward to September 2005. This person's username was DIA_LG, so I'm just going to call him Dialogue. And his weird email to me had this extended metaphor about how I was a caged bird. I won't subject you to all of it, but he continued from that metaphor to say, being happy doesn't mean you shouldn't try to be happier. It's an experience out there in your reach. It's not like wanting to fly a spaceship, at least not in our lifespan. What do you have to lose? On their dying bed, a lot of people regret things they've never done or tried to do. Maybe what you have is a problem with a cure. You just choose to dismiss it. It is your right, but are you sure? It is an experience of life that you dismiss. To be an old lady with a lot of cats may not scare you now, but how many have you known and were happy? Try imagining yourself at 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus. One sure thing in life, it's your own demise. You must realize that your time is running out. At 20-something, you're not too late, but you're getting close. It's not clear if you didn't try, or tried and had bad experiences. In both cases, it's not a reason to stop trying. You create an image of yourself you might feel compelled to uphold. I just hope you'll not regret your choice when you're older, or worse, and it will be too late. Dear Dialogue, so here we are 17 years later. I no longer have to imagine what it's like to be 30 plus or 40 plus. Yep, still happy! And yep, still not drowning in regret that you projected on me. Maybe everything will suddenly change when that promised 50 plus age alights upon me, but given your track record here, it's not looking good for you. I can also assure you that I've done things you haven't done. And if I'm honest, I do feel sad that some people won't ever have the experience of writing a book or running a YouTube channel that yields daily compliments from grateful, previously erased populations. Somehow the joy I find in my fulfilling pursuits doesn't encourage me to write to random people who aren't doing things I like and telling them they'll regret it. I'm also not so ignorant as to define the human experience by its most common traits and insist they're universal, to the point that I have to literally make up sadness for non-participants and paint it on their faces so I can congratulate myself that I detected it there. I've got to tell you, the idea that women in their 20s are getting close to too old to find a mate is just catastrophically laughable. I am still to this day being pelted with regular propositions from dudes who believe all they have to do is tell me how pretty I am and I'll find this original and fall into their arms, and I'm not even out there looking. The concept that 20-something women are risking drying up as spinsters against their will if they don't get with someone immediately is not only insulting, it's bafflingly out of touch with the reality of many women's real lives. But I'm sure it made you feel wise and special to try to plant an idea that would surely haunt me, one where I'm staying single and abstinent for the sake of my image and ticking every day closer to my deathbed with the regret over not having sex growing stronger and more terrifying by the day. I don't know, at this point it's kind of like how the wrong kind of Christians try to bully me into converting by threatening me with hell and expect me to fear it even though I wasn't raised with the concept and don't find someone else's deterrent stories terrifying. Honestly, if you haven't moved past this unfortunate need to tell people they'll experience deep regret if they don't adopt your values wholesale, you're the one who's living a very sad life. And I hope you won't regret all the relationships you missed out on by refusing to develop an iota of basic respect and empathy. Good riddance, Ivy. And now I have one from May 2015. A fella named Jim. Jim G. Jim G says, I decided to look further into your profile because of your eyes. They are a lighter blue than most blue eyes. I know that stupid windows to the soul thing. Now, I don't believe that, but I do think eyes can tell a story. I have read your story, and it's not a happy one. That is probably why you say you hate fun. Now, most guys at this point would be thinking, I don't care if she likes to have fun or not, as long as I do, not me. I'm thinking how nice it would be to be able to teach you to have fun in everything that you do. Do not get me wrong, I am not here to fix you. You're not broke. I just feel that we are here on Earth for too short of a time to not have fun in everything that we do. I know you hate hearing this message, but it is the truth. Dear Jim, all my life, people have had this embarrassing tendency to project their own values all over me, but it's really cringy that you believe you can sense my sadness in a digital photograph of my eyes just because you have a weird fantasy that I'm yearning for something. Hoping so hard that pretending to see my sorrow will make you seem insightful instead of opportunistic and invasive. And though I'm sure my fury over your audacity will be interpreted by many people like you as if you must have struck a nerve and now it's cool to gloat about that too, no, that's not what's happening here. When you spend your life as I do, with everyone trying to overwrite your feelings with their own for their benefit, you just get desperately weary of people claiming to know what you want when you've been telling them so clearly for goddamn decades. And they'd rather listen to the story they made up about you. Oh, and then there's the part where you're borrowing power from the status quo to question marginalized people so relentlessly that they often do start to think they're broken and in need of someone who sees their pain to fix them. You said here you don't think I'm broken and you're not here to fix me, but how can you claim that when the entire point of the rest of your message is about telling me about the pain you know I'm in and telling me you know I'll hate hearing it, but it's the truth? Well, it isn't. And what is it with these dudes who keep telling women they read as desperate for specific attention when they're the ones sending unwanted messages on matching sites? My advice to you, Jim, is to go contact someone who says they have a need you can fulfill. And go make yourself busy with that. Because it's very tiresome for people like us to deal with you trying to hoodwink us into thinking we want something from you. It'd really be a lot simpler if you just believed women instead of trying to graft feelings onto them. But hey, what can I know? I'm just a girl whose blue eyes are communicating sadness to you, which is way clearer and straightforward than the actual words on profiles and email messages. Get over it, Ivy. That's the last letter from me that I will share with you today. You'll notice, as I said at the beginning, that they all have this gloating certainty that I need something that I'm currently missing. They're so sure that my life is empty. They love gloating about it. I'm sure that if you go through a bunch of my other letters to an asexual, you'll find other similar letters where people are oh so happy to tell me how sad I obviously am. And I keep coming back to this because it really is so striking to me that the saddest I get about this is because they won't leave people like us alone. They think they need to intervene to make us better or to fix us, but that is the only thing that is breaking people. That kind of treatment, that kind of behavior, that kind of constant assault on us feeling what we're feeling and being told that it's wrong and we must be in need of something or we must be wrong about ourselves. The words that they choose to try to tell us that we're not qualified to interpret our own life experiences and that our feelings are lies, that they could straight up tell us over and over again throughout the decades in my case that we aren't equipped to know ourselves. And in the meantime, they refuse to back up and let us know ourselves, let us express what we found when we taught ourselves to know ourselves. But they don't accept it. They don't listen when we try to tell them who we are. They want to hear something else, so they'll literally rewrite the words and then say, no, this is the letter that I'm going to put on you, and you're not allowed to write your own letters. Well, those were some of the letters that I chose to write instead. And I hope that some of you, especially some of you who are younger, who may be looking at your adulthood and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm always surrounded by all these people who seem so sure that I'm going to grow out of this or that I'm going to be lonely, telling me about all the cats that I'll be surrounded by in the absence of real love. Like, okay, first, what do you have against cats? But I hope you'll take some reassurance from the fact that I've been hearing these kinds of messages for as long as some of you have been alive, and I'm still on the other end of it, very happy with the choices that I've made, not regretting things, and the number of times I've had to say I don't regret anything may even start to seem suspicious for some of these people who want that to not be the truth, because apparently saying the same thing over and over again makes them think the opposite is true, because that's very convenient for them, that I must be saying it over and over to convince myself. But I'm saying it over and over because I keep getting messages like these, and I'm almost 45, and it's just never ending. So why can't my rebuttals to it be? So, anyway. It does feel very good to sometimes blow off steam like that and be like, haha, you guys were wrong, and you'll keep being wrong. And I'll still be here to try to reassure people who are being surrounded by similar commentary from either strangers or people who are close to them in their lives, possibly even partners or parents or siblings or best friends who think that they can't be okay the way they are. But you can. And I'm fairly certain that none of the people that I addressed those letters to have ever seen any of my videos, but I really hope that at least some of those people have come across other asexuality related dialogues and narratives to help them educate themselves about what this actually is about, that it's not just one weird person that they met all those years ago that said this. It's tons of us. It's hundreds of millions of people. So throughout history, we have always been here. And we've called it different things, we've described it different ways, we've had as many different experiences with that orientation within the category as anybody who's heterosexual. Their experiences are varied as well, and we would all describe it just a little bit different. So, still some things tie us together, and one of those is that we get messages like these. So that's about all I can say, and I'll see you next time I have something to rant about. Bye.